What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is Marriage or Fiance, or excuse me, Family or Fiance, Season 1, Episode 14. So, excuse me. We have Jasmine and we have Reggie. Now, honestly, I feel like this was another episode of, they probably should have went on Ayanla. Because I feel like a lot of the issues that these families had were not necessarily with the couples per se, as it was family dynamics that needed to be worked out. There were a few little things here and there, and the stuff that I feel like they could have harped on or that they could have discussed wasn't really addressed. But let's go ahead. But it was a decent episode. I just don't feel like a lot of the issues came down to the couple and whether they're ready to get married or not. So Reggie and Jasmine, they've known each other for 7 years. They said they dated off and on. And at first, to me, that was a red flag. Because I was like, see, that whole off and on thing make me kind of feel like, what's the off for? But then when we found out what happened was they met in college. And after graduation, Jasmine wanted to move to Atlanta. He tried to sort of talk her out of it, but her mind was set. And he let her go. And I can respect that. Because what they say, you know, if you find something you love it, let it go. If it was meant to be yours, it'll be returned to you. So she came back. She said they never really lost touch with each other. And then at a certain point, they sort of started hooking back up. She actually moved to where he's living now, which I wasn't 100%. Well, I shouldn't say I wasn't clear. I'm pretty clear that where they live now is not where she's actually from. Because that came up that she doesn't go home and visit often. Now, Jasmine, y'all know I don't get on here and I don't do no whole lot of critiquing of looks and stuff like that. But all I'm going to say is, Jasmine, I like you and I think you're a beautiful woman. But don't you never wear that wig again. Never. Retire it, burn it, throw it away. And I'm done. But they dated long distance, and she just recently moved to where he is, and they've only been there for about a month. But then when I found out the fact that he is a minister, that makes a little bit of sense, because I'm pretty certain they're not living together. That's not something that they're going to probably do before marriage. So her moving to the same town could be an issue, and I feel like that is something that could have been explored. That they've known each other for a long time and they've been dating, but it's been long distance, and there's something different about being able to get to you in a few minutes versus I think they were 3 hours away, and 3 hours still isn't a lot in the terms of long distance, but it's definitely a plan. Like, you ain't just gonna spontaneously pop up somewhere, at least not regularly, and if you do, then you got another problem. But he is a minister, and Miss McMillan, Tamika, asked them, she said, you know, being a first lady is a lot. And I feel like they didn't really harp on that a lot. I feel like they sort of said it and moved on. But it is, no matter how much you love the Lord and all of that, that is a big undertaking to be young and to take on that role. Now, I don't feel like he had a church now, but the fact that that's where direction he wants to go, and the fact that he's already a minister, that's a lot. And I feel like that wasn't really explored like it could have been. But let's get into the family dynamics. So on his side, his mother, father, and brother were coming. And on her side, it was her mother, father, and her best friend. I liked the fact that we saw parents. These last couple of episodes, not last week's episode, but the couple of episodes before that, we didn't see a lot of parents. We saw a lot of friends and cousins, but I feel like we haven't been seeing a lot of parents this season. And so I like the fact that on both sides we saw mother and father, and we saw brother on one case and then best friend. But I feel like they were the kind of best friends, like they've been cradle friends, like they've known each other their whole life friends. So the two tasks. All right, now last year I had some criticism, or earlier this season, the first half of this season, I had some criticism because I felt like they were always doing 20 questions. I feel like you heard the criticism, maybe not from me so much, but you heard the criticism, and y'all are switching up the task, and the end result is the same. You're getting an opportunity to ask questions. of the groom or the bride, potential groom or bride, depending on the situation, but you mixing it up. Like this time they're doing Pop Goes the Question, where they had the questions inside of balloons and they had to do like darts and whatever, whatever they hit was the question they answered. They've done where they had to write the questions on the Jenga pieces, and when they pulled the piece out, they asked. So they're switching it up, and I like it because again, the end result is the same, but the presentation is different. Now the flip side is, I'm going to need y'all to be a little bit more creative with this cooking dinner thing. Again, I understand the purpose of the task. You're creating an environment where y'all are being able to talk. In the beginning, when you would do the cooking exercise, it was for a reason. It was either the person was from a different culture and you wanted them to get an opportunity to learn how to cook the food from their potential spouse's culture, or the family had concerns over whether the person could cook or not, or I don't know, something else. But it was a reason. Now I feel like, just like with the 20 questions, it's just sort of your go-to. Look, Tamika, I like you. And I like the show. I'm going to need you to call Ayanla, because Ayanla always got to exercise. I don't know how she come up with them. I don't know her production team or whatever. But call them. They'll come up with some different ways for you to do this. Anyway, so they go through the whole, what is it that you have reservations? And again, the reservations that a lot of them had really weren't about each other. One of them was Reggie's mom had concerns about Reggie and his dad's relationship. That didn't have nothing to do with the wedding. That didn't have anything to do with you having reservations about him marrying this woman. The best friend had a good reservation. She said, I'm worried about whether Reggie can compromise, because up until this point, the biggest compromise was on the side of Jasmine, with her agreeing to move to where he is. And that was a physical compromise, and I'm just wondering if he can do the mental compromises and do the other compromises. I thought that was a valid point, and I thought that was a valid concern. The other thing that came up was the fact that Jasmine's relationship with her mom. And again, wrong show. See, all this stuff is for Ayanla. This not for the family or fiance, because these are dealing with the relationships with the parents and the spouses. I mean, with the spouses, not the spouses with each other. Y'all see what I'm saying? Anyway, so it came up that Jasmine's mother is still in contact with her exes, like regularly talk to them all the time. Also, it came up that Jasmine feels like she has to be perfect. She was adopted, and she feels like her mother expected her to be perfect. In her mother's mind, her mother said, I just wanted her to do her best. And I always told her, if you are giving me your best, then that's all I can ask for. But Jasmine in her mind interpreted that differently. I'm all over the place. But what they ended up doing was bringing in an adoption expert, because come to find out, the Macmillan, the therapist, she was a foster child. She said what you're doing is it's an actual thing with foster kids and adoptive kids. It's you're trying to be perfect because you have that fear of them giving you back. So it may not necessarily be that your mom was wanting you to be perfect, but it's how you internalized it. And we saw, okay, so I'm jumping ahead, but I'm sorry. We saw them doing the 20 questions. Well, however many questions it was. And they were doing pretty good until they got the question about the boyfriend. About her talking to the ex-boyfriends. And he said, what I don't want you to do is measure me against them. I'm not them. I can't measure up against them on whatever relationship you have with those people. It's not, nothing personal. I don't know them. And the mother was like, well, I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't feel like I've done anything wrong by, so you saying you want me to cut off my relationship with them. You want me to stop being friends with these men. And he was like, no, I just don't want to feel like, you are comparing us. So she got really upset, and it sort of shut that whole thing down because she got upset and she sort of walked off or whatever. With the on the other side where they were cooking dinner, which they ended up cooking breakfast, but I'm cool with that because let me tell you something. I'm a breakfast all day kind of chick. So, baby, they was making sausage and grits, and they did something real. It looked good what they were making, but I know it involved sausage and some. I felt like I saw some grits, but anyway, they were having a conversation with Reggie's dad, and he felt like he had always been a part of his son's life, and he had always been there. He had that old school mentality, like, he know who I am. We grew up around each other. Yeah, I might have been gone a little bit here or there, but at the end of the day, he knows me. And so in his mind, that translated to, we have a great relationship, and I was there for him his whole life. And he started getting a little defensive, but not defensive to the point where he shut down, but just defensive, like, I don't understand. Like, he really didn't get it. And what we found out is that the father was in jail a couple of times. So those times that he was away were times when he was in jail. And I think in his mind he interpreted as, I wasn't voluntarily leaving my child, although kind of you were because you were making bad decisions, but I wasn't just running off to be with another woman or running off because I didn't want to be a dad. I was in jail and I couldn't be. But when I got out of jail, I was back. And they were trying to get him to understand, like, that's not a relationship. And again, the father got a little defensive, but I feel like he was open to hearing it. And so later on that night, I mean, they had dinner and that kind of thing, and they sort of talked about it over dinner or whatever. And again, the father, once again, was kind of just like, I don't know what y'all talking about. Like, I was there for my child. And he went on to explain, like, my father wasn't in my life until I was a teenager. He showed up, apologized, we moved on, and we was good. So I figured me and him were good because it was what it was. So later on that night, Jasmine had a conversation with her mom. And they had the whole conversation about the being perfect thing. They had the conversation about the being friends with the boyfriend thing. And her mother was like, so what you want me to do? You want me to just not speak to him again? Like, he's a good guy. He's a nice guy. He's always been there for me. I'm not going to cut off my relationship. And she was like, it's not about cutting off your relationship. It's about setting boundaries. Because at dinner, they had talked about the fact that on Mother's Day, the boyfriend called while they were at dinner with Reggie and his mom, and the mama took the phone call and like sat on the phone with the ex-boyfriend chilling on Mother's Day in front of Reggie. And she was like, you don't feel like that was disrespectful? She was like, I don't feel like my relationship with him got anything to do with Reggie. She was like, so I'm supposed to just ask Reggie his permission before I can be friends with somebody, or before? And she was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there should be boundaries, and you have to take Reggie's feelings into consideration. And she didn't feel like she had to do that. And I understand, and I 100% agree with what Jasmine is saying. I'm not saying you got to stop being friends with him. I'm saying you need to set some boundaries and respect Reggie in this relationship. Because here's the thing. If Reggie's mom was doing that with his ex-girlfriend in front of me, how would you feel? And I bet you his mother would have a problem with it. I mean, I bet you her mother wouldn't like it if Reggie's mom was doing that to her. So anyway, so the next morning when they're doing their check-in, her mom is having a breakdown. Like, her mother is really, she said she woke up and it just was on her mind all night that how her daughter felt. She said, I didn't know that's why she wasn't coming home from school, right? She didn't come home often, and I didn't understand that that's how she felt, that she felt like she couldn't live up to my expectation, and I expected her to be perfect, and she just couldn't be that. Like, I didn't know that is what was going on with us. And she was just really hurt. She was just, her mom was hurt by that. She said, all I ever wanted, I just wanted her to know she was loved. And I'm sorry that I felt, that she feels that way. And that's when they agreed to bring in the therapist for both of them, because both of them seemed to be having problems. And then she told Reggie that he needed to go spend time with his dad so they could talk. So you see what I'm saying now about how these were great conversations and courageous conversations that needed to happen. but it didn't have anything to do with them getting married. Like, yes, this is family therapy and let's get it all out. But when we look at other couples who've shown up who have issues that are their issues, this to me was an Ayanla episode. But it was still good. He was able to talk to his dad, and I think his dad was able to understand it. His father said, I just never knew. He said, I never knew you felt like that. I thought that we had a good relationship. I thought that we were good. And I'm glad that I'm here. God brought me here so that I could see this and I could hear this. And I'm really glad that you have talked to me about it. And he said, and he did this one thing that I can always appreciate at the end of a conflict. Because here's the thing. I can't change how you feel. You can't change how I feel. My experience was my experience. Your experience was your experience. But now that I have let you know how I feel, now the question is, what can I do, or what can we do to fix it? And that's what his father said. His father said, well, what is it? I want a better relationship with you. I want you to feel like you have a dad. What can I do? And Reggie gave him an honest answer. Reggie said, you can be my friend. And we can take it from there. I could only appreciate that. And so with that being said, when it got time for the ceremony, do you approve of this marriage ceremony? Of course, everybody, because their issues were never really truly with them as a couple, and the stuff that I think they could have brought up, they didn't. The mother said that. Oh, I'm sorry. Over dinner, the mother did say to Reggie, that she would respect the boundaries and that she loves him and she thinks that he is good for her daughter, and that. Because in the beginning she was making it seem like, I mean, if this is who you choose, then I guess I gotta accept it. But by the end, she was like, I think you are a good man, and I think you'll be good for my daughter, and I support that. And so I feel like they came full circle. I feel like the reservations that were there, I think, had been addressed. And I wish them well. I think this couple, I like their family. I love his father. His father was I liked both of their fathers, because Jasmine's father was kind of a jokester, he was kind of really fun loving. But Reggie's dad, I loved him because, you could see he really truly, he didn't get defensive. He didn't get in his feelings. He really just didn't understand, and he wanted to understand, and he wanted better. So, what can you do? So I thought this was a good episode. They were supposed to be getting married in early 2020. Early could be January, early could be March. But hopefully when they do the follow-ups to the Where Are They Now, I hope they do like they did at the end of last season, where they followed up with all the couples. And so I hope that they are happily married somewhere and doing well. But I also hope that Jasmine threw that damn wig away. Anyway, y'all, talk to y'all later. Peace.